All right, here's my problem with this. Well, there's a lot of problems, but we'll start with this one. She says she wants to make the system safer and more humane, but for whom is she talking if part of her plan allows the release of mass shooters, terrorists, rapists, and murderers?
Liz, there is a bipartisan, across the political spectrum problem in our criminal justice, political, and legal discourse. We are always talking about that the victims of crime are the criminals and not the victims. On the left, it speaks for itself. That's what's going on here. But on the right, there's a lot of libertarian criminal justice reform, Kim Kardashian flirting about letting violent people out of prison. You know, Senator Tom Cotton in 2016 was not very popular when he said this, but he was absolutely correct. We actually have an under-incarceration problem in this country. We have a lot of people in prison, but you know what? We're also a very violent society. 19% of property crimes in America, we actually find the perp. 47% of violent crimes, less than half of violent crimes in America, law enforcement can identify the perp. So we actually really need to be locking up more people and not letting people out. But, you know, right here, Ayanna Pressley, she's the Ringo Starr of the squad. I mean, she's auditioning for the John Lennon, Paul McCartney role, I guess. But bad policy.
I mean, it's not going to be a popular opinion, what you stated, that there's an under-incarceration problem in our country. I think that you can get a happy medium, and I'm not talking about numerically here. I'm talking about the philosophy towards the criminal justice system. You can look at cases where someone is given a life sentence for a non-violent, drug-related first offense, and you can say, nope, that doesn't seem just to me. Maybe we should examine the laws that allow a life sentence to be mandatory for someone like that. You can look at that and understand that we maybe need reform. At the same time, you can take part of the position that you're taking, I think, and say, well, we don't catch a lot of the people. Police authorities don't prosecute a lot of people who do commit violent crimes because a lot more violent crimes are committed than the number of people who are incarcerated. But Ayanna Pressley's plan strikes no such balance. None whatsoever. She just straight up wants to release anybody who is in prison for any reason. That is extremely dangerous for our society. In fact, it's irresponsible and a little bit unbelievable that any of the organizations who are endorsing her plan would even dare to endorse it.
Anyone who endorsed this plan, Liz, it is utterly damning to do so. You know, one of the great successes of the Reagan-Clinton back-to-back decades, and it continued really up until about 3 to 4 years ago, was a reduction consistently across the spectrum, a huge reduction in violent crime. That reduction in violent crime, by the way, coincided with a huge increase in private gun ownership, but that's kind of another discussion. But violent crime in this country dramatically was reduced over the course of decades, and it's just over the past really 2 to 3, maybe 4 years that the FBI crime statistics are starting to show an increase again. This is pretty harrowing. I mean, you know what? A lot of these people on the libertarian-leaning right were talking about criminal justice reform 3, 4, or 5 years ago. Maybe it made a little more sense then. The statistics today just tell a very different story.